Well, the second week for Antman and the Wasp: Quantumania is not as bad as people thought, but it's still pretty bad. Let's take a couple minutes to break down this weekend's box office and the implications for other superhero projects going forward. Are we finally in the superhero fatigue phase? Well, we are in the second week of Antman and the Wasp: Quantumania, and when we first talked about the box office results, one thing we made pretty clear: it's super important to get a good second weekend, and honestly, Ant-Man 3 has not done that. Now, the film was expecting a 71.6% drop, which is horrendous, and although it wasn't quite that bad, it's still pretty bad. The latest box office numbers are in, and the Marvel Studios' threequel fell 69.7% in North America. This is the worst drop ever for a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, and even did worse than Black Widow, which did 67.8%, which opened during the pandemic and was also made available on Disney Plus upon release. It's also the third biggest second weekend drop for a $100 million opener, just behind Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Now, this is really not great news for the kickoff of Phase 5 of the MCU, but to be fair, the film does sit at $363 million worldwide and is doing much better in the international box office. Ant-Man films themselves have never been billion-dollar films, but I know Marvel is definitely looking to have this film break the $600 or $700 million mark, and honestly, I do not think it's going to make it. It feels like we are in a series of blunders when it comes to some of our favorite comic book properties, at least at the box office. Black Adam was a flop, no matter how WB tries to spin the numbers. Ant-Man and the Wasp looks like it's not going to get out of the red ink. And if you've been paying attention, you know, Shazam! Fury of the Gods is also looking to do very, very poorly. I'm starting to wonder if we finally entered that phase of superhero fatigue. With a whole series of box office blunders, somebody needs to get the horse back on the track, and honestly, I'm hoping James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 does that for all these films, but especially for Marvel Studios. As you do a lookout through the rest of the year, there's a distinct possibility this year could be really bad for comic book projects. We've already had Ant-Man fail, and it appears Shazam is also going to fail, and the lineup for the rest of the year is mixed. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is likely to do well. That's followed by The Flash, which is contingent on how the general public is feeling about Ezra Miller. And then we have a relatively unknown character in Blue Beetle, with the year closing out with The Marvels, which could go either way, and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which its test screenings were horrid, indicating another big flop. Now, the upside is we do have one animated Spider-Man movie coming out this year, Across the Spider-Verse, which fans are expecting to do good, and honestly the last one was great, so that could be the saving grace, but we really could be looking at a negative year overall for the whole industry, and this is not good if you want more content. Now, Marvel's obviously making some changes behind the scenes, and I do think they can steer this ship in the right direction. Hopefully we'll start to see improvements in these projects over the next 2 or 3. I really do think the delay for the Marvels was to shine and make the project better, and that might be the first place we see some distinctive improvement from Marvel Studios. As for DC, we're waiting on the first phase of James Gunn's material, and honestly, until we get our first look at Creature Commandos, Waller, and Legacy, we're really not going to know what that's going to look like, so let's not speculate too much.